Hey guys, my name's Woodhawker and I'm here to bring you Launchbox's top 5 best NES games to emulate. Now I wanted to break this down into categories. I didn't just want to give you my personal favorite top 5 video games for the NES and you should go and emulate them. I wanted to give you practical reasons why you might want to go out and emulate these games in particular. So the 5 categories are best NTSC NES game to emulate, best PAL NES game to emulate, best rarest NES game to emulate, best most expensive NES game to emulate, and my favorite NES game to emulate. So let's start with the best PAL NES game to emulate, meaning if you're in a NTSC region like North America, Canada, America, and all of that, and you want to play a game that didn't come out in your region, but you're not exactly into buying repros, this would be a great one for you to emulate. I've picked Mr. Gimmick for this one because Mr. Gimmick is honestly one of my favorite NES games in general, let alone one of my favorite PAL exclusives. Graphically, Mr. Gimmick is a beautiful game. It has some of the best graphics on the NES. In my opinion, its look compares with Kirby's Adventure for the NES. It's honestly a brilliant looking game. It also has some of my favorite music on the NES. It has a really fantastic multi-genre soundtrack. But the best part about this game is the gameplay. It's a really fun game. It's really creative actually. It's a platformer, but my favorite thing about this platformer is the shooting star attack that you have. Not only is it really fun to use and acts kind of like a boomerang, you can also jump on your star and ride it to access different areas or just to have fun. It's a really creative, interesting little game that didn't do very well when it was released, so it's not very well known of now. It's picking up some steam lately, but if you want to play this one and you don't want to buy a repro of it, emulating it is the way to go. Next up, we have best NTSC NES game to emulate. And this was a really hard one to pick, especially for me from Australia. Australia had about 300 NES games, where America and North America had about 800 NES games. So I had a lot of games to choose from North America only releases, but I had it narrowed down to 2, Bonk's Adventure and Power Blade 2. Now I feel like a lot of people have heard of Bonk's Adventure, while a lot haven't heard of Power Blade 2. So let's go ahead and do that one. Speaking of boomerang type attacks, your main attack in this video game is a boomerang. I swear I'm not this Australian, it just so happens that both of these games have boomerangs in them. Power Blade 2 is a really cool mix of Mega Man and Contra. Mega Man more so because of the actual gameplay elements and the fact that it's very much like a Mega Man game, but Contra more for the cosmetic feel, where it actually looks a lot like you've taken a Contra character and gone, here's a boomerang, now play Mega Man. And it's a really interesting and fun game. It can get quite challenging, and it has a lot of power-ups along the way that keeps the game fresh and interesting as you go along. So I highly recommend emulating this video game if you live in a PAL region and don't want to have one imported. The best, most expensive NES game to emulate. Well, let's just go straight for the heavy hitter, because honestly, I do think Nintendo World Championships is a fun game. And honestly, there is no better game to emulate when it comes to price. For those of you who don't know, the Nintendo World Championships were held back in 1990, hosted by Nintendo, and it was a place where a bunch of gamers came together to compete and find out who was the best at playing Nintendo video games. And to find out who was the best Nintendo player of all time, they played mini-game versions of Super Mario Bros., Rad Racer, and Tetris, all smushed into one game on a time limit, and you had to get the highest score out of those 3 games at once. It's a really interesting concept, and they made actual carts for these games. There was about 90 gray carts that still exist, and about I think 25, 26 gold carts that still exist, and the gold carts can sell for $15,000, $20,000. So clearly it is the most expensive officially licensed NES game, but it's also really fun. I had a really great time sitting down with my friend Jay a couple years ago at Retro World Expo, and we played this game together competitively to see who can get the most points. And honestly, I mean, it was obviously built as a competitive game, so it's no surprise, but the competitiveness of this game is really enjoyable. It's really fun to sit down with a bunch of friends. If you want to play it with some friends, or if you just want to challenge yourself, emulating this game is definitely a good. Now for rarest, obviously Nintendo World Championships is going to be the top of that list, and then it's going to be stadium events, and that's going to keep going down, and Flintstones is going to be in there, and yada yada yada. We all know of the rarest NES games, but I wanted to pick one that I thought was honestly one of the funnest games, that if you emulate it, you're going to be entertained for hours on hours, and for me, I think that game has to be Dragon Warrior 4. Out of the initial Dragon Warrior games on the NES, this is my personal favorite. It's one of the best games on the the NES in general. It was released very late to the NES lifespan, so not many copies were sold. There isn't that many copies out there, which makes it so rare. I don't want to stand here and try and review this game because it is such an in-depth game, but I do recommend you check out my friend Super Derek's video on this. It's about 10 minutes long, but he reviews RPGs better than anyone else, honestly, and he will do this game more justice than I can in 30 seconds. So if you want to see more about this game, click here, or if you want to just take my word for it, just go out and emulate it. It's a really fun game and really hard to find. Now down to my personal favorite game to emulate, the one that I always manage to go back to when I load up the NES, a game that I am never going to own, so it's one of the few games I actually went out myself and decided I am going to emulate this game. I'm going to give up the hopes of owning this game and play it because I really want to see what it's like. But before I get to it, I want to give an honorable mention to Devil World, a game that wasn't released in North America. It's the only game not released in North America by Miyamoto. Miyamoto created this game. It's sort of like a Pac-Man clone, but made out of like devils and underworldling type sprites, which is why it wasn't released in North America. They weren't okay with the hellish themes, I suppose. So it kind of fits into a few of our categories here. It wasn't released in North America. It's kind of a hard game to find now, and it's a really fun game that I recommend you playing. I mean, Miyamoto designed it, how bad can it be? So that's a really interesting one to check out if you haven't already. But the game that I'm actually picking as my favorite game is Little Samson, and that probably won't shock anyone. I tried to pick games that weren't super obvious and super coy in this list. Yes, people talk about it all the time. Yes, the price keeps going higher and higher and higher, and it's getting absolutely ridiculous, and there's no way I can afford it at this point. But however, the game and its enjoyment does speak for itself. It might even be my favorite NES game. I struggle to say that because I haven't actually ever owned it or played it, so I don't feel that emotional attachment to the game like I do Super Mario Bros. 3 or Maniac Mansion, which are my other favorite games for the system. But this is such a fun game, such a fun little platformer, and if you haven't played it, you owe it to yourself to go out and at least try it. Because there's a reason why people talk about it all the time. Honestly, it's really good. I don't think it's overrated. I think it's overpriced, like a lot of NES games are, but this is definitely my top pick to emulate if you haven't already. And that's all for me in this video. If you guys like this, I kind of want to make more content for this channel. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So if you like this idea as a series, top 5 something games to emulate using Launchbox. I can do Super Nintendo, I can do Genesis, I can do Virtual Boy, I can do Commodore 64. Let me know down below, leave comments down below of what system you want to see next, and the ones with the most likes are the ones that I will tackle. And that's it, I'll see you later on in the week for the weekly update, but until then, happy emulating, and I will see you very soon. Little Samson!